before I do anything else, because I usually forget. I am going to mute everyone. Of course, you're welcome to come off mute during our Q&A at the end, but I want to make sure we don't have any sound interruptions. I appreciate you all being here today. Feel free to leave questions in the chat as we go through this session, and we will definitely be getting those questions answered. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. I'll give myself a quick intro. My name is Melissa Fernald. I am the product manager with the RealVitalize program. Robin invited me to join you all today to give you kind of our introduction to RealVitalize. So this will be a quicker session. I'm going to go through the basics of this program, how it can support your business, and essentially get you confident and comfortable with some of these details so you can start offering this to your clients. So excited to be here today. As mentioned, put those questions in the chat. We'll definitely be getting them answered. And let's dive right in. All right, so you should see my slides. We'll get started with the RealVitalize program. And starting, of course, with all the fun things, some housekeeping items. I am not going to read through the slide. I just pretty much have to put it up during our training as a disclaimer. I'll be going through some results of this program, some successes. I always have to clarify that results are not guaranteed. There's a few states we aren't available in, but that doesn't really pertain to where we are today. So no worries there. We're going to dive right in. So, RealVitalize. This is a high-level overview of what we offer. We're going to get into all of the details, but I always like to start simple with our key offering and what this program can do for you. Starting with the first bullet here. So, RealVitalize is essentially an offering that covers the upfront cost of different updates and repairs to prepare your listings for sale. So as a company, we are fronting this capital for you and for your sellers, and essentially getting repaid out of the proceeds of the sale of the home. So we are partnered with Angie through this experience. Angie is the parent company of Angie's List and Home Advisor. Hopefully those brands sound familiar to most everyone here. They really fuel the RealVitalize experience. So they are providing service providers to work with. They offer project management support to help you through the experience. There's a few other benefits there also that I will touch on throughout my presentation, but I like to introduce them up front because they are really a core part of the RealVitalize experience. The third note here, this is a big one for us, a big, I would say, selling point for the program. We have no hidden fees for you to participate. There is no interest charged to the funds offered, and there's no markups as well. So if you are using $10,000 of budget to get your listing fixed up, we are asking for $10,000 back at closing, no more. So that's a big benefit for you and, of course, your seller as well. Now, one thing I like to share, we are an in-house program. So we are part of Coldwell Banker. We are part of the parent company, Anywhere Real Estate. And there's a couple perks that come with that. And it kind of ties back to the no fees, the no interest. There's not a loan company working here. There's not a bank working here. This is our company fronting its own capital for you and for your sellers. So there's benefits to that because we're in-house. We don't have to charge those fees. We don't have to charge that interest. And it really simplifies the process. So I like to share a little bit of that insight as well before we dive in. Okay, so you're probably thinking, why? How can this benefit me? And there's a few key stats here that I like to share. The first two really point to the reason why this program was created. RealVitalize was created over 4 years ago now, and it was created and brought to life as a listing generating tool and a commission boosting tool. So we created this to equip you all with a better way to win new listings and to negotiate better commissions for yourself. So on the left here, 1 in 4, we are seeing 1 in 4 agents using the program saying that they won the listing with RealVitalize. Now, this is a great number, and we would love to see this grow even higher because we want to see you all taking advantage of this offering, using this to get in front of potential sellers and to win those listings. It's a tough market right now, but with a tool like this in your hand, I think it's a great way to arm yourself to differentiate yourself in your market. In the middle here, we are seeing higher commissions through the program. Big benefit. On average, a 0.26% higher list side commission when using the program. There's a few reasons for that. I will touch on one a little bit later on. But the primary reason is, again, differentiating yourself, proving your value. A lot of our agents bring this into listing appointments, bring this to your consumers, to your clients, and negotiate better commissions for themselves. So it gives you that kind of leverage, that step up to say, you know, I am earning a better commission because I'm bringing you so much added value with RealVitalize. Okay, the last stat here, we are seeing a lot less canceled and expired listings through the program. So we've seen a cut of about 67% in our listing cancellation rate when using RealVitalize. So just another benefit to using this program for you and for your business. Okay, so very high level overview. Let's dive right into some details. And again, put those questions in the chat if you have them. So we're going to start with the fun stuff, which are what we can do. What kind of services can we offer? So we are fronting the capital for different upgrades, updates, and repairs. Before I dive into what we can do, the main term we use to define our service offering is anything non-structural is permitted through the program. So we can help with anything non-structural. Quick list here on the right of some favorites. So you can see staging is one of our services we can offer, painting. We can do all sorts of refreshes across the home, from kitchen refreshes to bathroom refreshes, new flooring, new appliances. We can do exterior work like landscaping, tree trimming, pavement repairs. We can do minor roof repairs. So this is a very short list here on the right. If you have any questions on this, we're always answering questions on services offered. So you're more than welcome to bring those to us at any point during our Q&A today or later on. We're always answering questions on this. It does help, though, to define the structural projects we cannot support. So structural projects we would consider not covered by the program are things like foundation work on a home, building an addition to a home, installing a new roof down to the plywood. Those are considered structural projects for us. There's additional ones, but that kind of clearly defines that line for you. But again, so much is covered through this program beyond what you see here. So we can definitely chat about that later if anyone has specific questions. So services covered. Now let's talk about budgets. With those services, what kind of budget are we working with here? So every listing will have a specific budget. So every property you bring through the program will have a specific budget, and we essentially base it off your list side commission. So let's say we have a $600,000 home coming to the market, 2.5% list side commission. That would equate to $15,000 in commission for the agent. If this property were brought through RealVitalize, it would also be $15,000 in budget for the seller. So again, we are essentially offering a budget equivalent to your list side commission, and it is up to a maximum of $20,000. So that is the most we can offer per property through the program. Now, a few call outs. This always sets off some red flags whenever I mention commission. We do not touch your commission. We are a separate line item at closing on that closing statement. So we're not touching your commission. It is how we have decided what we are comfortable fronting for your seller. And this is another reason why we are seeing better commissions through the program. We intentionally set the budget equivalent to your commission, because if your seller wants that top budget through RealVitalize, that means you have to negotiate a higher commission. So if they're interested in kind of maximizing their value, getting additional budget, the one way to do that would be to have that commission talk with them, increase your commission a little bit, and then they have the win of getting more budget through the program. So I hope that makes sense. Again, happy to answer any questions on budgets. We usually get a few during our Q&A. But again, it's the equivalent of your list side commission up to that maximum of $20,000. Now, how do we make this all happen? It's really done through our Angie partners. Angie, parent company of Angie's List, and Home Advisor, like I mentioned, bring us a few key benefits that really fuel the experience. So first and foremost, service providers. We are going to be sourcing local service providers from these networks for the different projects you are interested in. So if you are ready to go, you're going to enroll that listing in the program. connect with our project consultant and basically talk to them and tell them what kind of projects you or the seller are interested in. Do you just need a fresh coat of paint? Do you need a full kitchen renovation? Do you want some new LVP flooring throughout the home? Do you need some tree trimming done or some landscaping upkeep throughout the length of the listing as it's on the market? Whatever the case, whatever projects you're interested in, we will source vendors for you as long as they fit our program parameters and as long as those vendors are available. We are sourcing 4-star rated vendors and higher. They have to be 4 out of 5-star rated or higher to be part of RealVitalize, which is great. So quality vendors, all of which come with this happiness guarantee here in the middle. This is one great aspect of the program I recommend maybe taking a note of. This will be important when you're offering this to your sellers. It's one of the good selling points, one of the good kind of safety nets they'll find through RealVitalize. So this happiness guarantee backs any Angie sourced vendor for your project. Essentially, if your seller is not happy with any part of the work done, Angie will do what is needed to make things right at no additional cost. That's not something you get every day working with a standard contractor you might find on Yelp or Google. This guarantee is a great benefit of working through the program. Okay, fourth in the list, you'll notice you are also welcome to onboard your own vendors. So you really have 2 options when using RealVitalize. You can have us source those in-network vendors for you, or you can onboard your own into the network to utilize through the program. That onboarding takes a little bit of time. There are some steps to that process. It is currently taking 2 to 3 weeks to onboard a vendor. It is not an immediate turnaround, so definitely build that into your timeline. You don't have to have an active project to submit a vendor, so that's one of the perks, but make sure you are building in enough time for that vendor to be onboarded before you are ready for your RealVitalize project. Okay, last note here, I've spent quite a bit of time on this slide, our project management. So we offer a team of what we call project consultants, and they are here to help you through the RealVitalize experience. Eric here is your project consultant. I believe he's joined us, which is great, so he can chime in during our Q&A and introduce himself, answer any questions you have. A few things that your project consultant will support you with. Firstly, they are virtual, so they are not walking through the property with you, but they are here as virtual support to help in a few ways. Eric will be helping source vendors for you from those networks. He has local relationships built. He has some favorites he can source for you, and he is going to be a great proponent for you to find the right contractors for your listing, for your projects. He can help schedule those walkthroughs. He also manages all of the vendor payments and the budget, so he's handling all of that for you and for the seller. He'll check in virtually as work progresses, and he wants to make sure your sellers are happy with the work done, tying back to that happiness guarantee. So again, these project consultants are really your virtual support through the experience, your point people throughout the whole thing, helping you to get that RealVitalize project done. All right. So I have a few slides here that will get into some details if you are interested in working with us. We're going to talk through some requirements and restrictions. We're going to talk through some other aspects of the program, and then I'll wrap up and open it up for any questions. All right, first and foremost, we do require a listing agreement to get started, as well as what we call a RealVitalize participation agreement. Now, this participation agreement is essentially the contract between us and the seller, as well as Coldwell Banker Barnes. This agreement can be found on CB Desk. So mycbdesk.com, we have a RealVitalize tile. And within that tile, there are all sorts of resources, including an enrollment section where you can find this agreement and get those steps to get started. So again, we need a listing agreement and that participation agreement to get started. The participation agreement does need signature from an approved broker signatory, which I believe is either Robin or Becky. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk about a few additional details for us at CB Barnes. Before we get there, a few additional notes here. We do not work with sellers or homes in financial distress. So if you know of any of these situations, they're not a right fit for the program. As far as the program itself, we have very minimal qualifications on the program side. So as a whole, there's no minimum or maximum list price to qualify. There's no minimum project cost to participate. There's also no formal pre-qualifications, so we do not run any hard credit or equity checks on the seller to qualify. And then just a reminder, we discussed these two items, but that budget, again, it's based on your list side commission rate of the list price up to a maximum of 20,000. And we can support you with most every non-structural project through RealVitalize. Okay, so I mentioned some specifics around our CB Barnes qualifications. So our team does want to set a few additional parameters. And so there's a few bullet points here that will be required for every enrollment. And so all of these things are going to be requested and required before Robin or Becky will provide their signature of approval on that participation agreement. So that participation agreement I mentioned needs your client signature and either Robin or Becky's signature. And these documents are needed before that final signature will be given and before that enrollment can come our way. So if you have any questions on this, definitely direct those to the team, and they can definitely get you some help or answer any questions you have. But I did want to show this for awareness, as these things will be required for RealVitalize enrollments. Okay, last note here before we kind of wrap things up. What if the property doesn't sell? So there's a few different scenarios in which your seller would still be responsible for repayment if the home does not close according to plan. And putting this very plainly, if your seller is using these program funds, they are agreeing to pay the program back either at closing or direct out of pocket. So there's 4 scenarios here in which that direct out-of-pocket payment would be requested. You'll see here if that listing agreement expires without renewal, if it is canceled or terminated, if 12 months goes by from the completion of the first project and the home does not sell, or if the home does sell, but there is lack of equity in the home to repay the program. In any of these 4 scenarios, your seller would owe those funds back to the program. They would have a limited time to do so. So please keep this in mind. Please ensure your sellers are aware that they will owe money back to the program if the home does not sell. Definitely make sure they're reviewing these terms. It is outlined in that participation agreement. So if they're signing that agreement, they are agreeing to these repayment terms. Okay. All right, wrap up time. This is the fun part. I'm going to show a few different transformations, a few different success stories, and then I will finally wrap up and we'll open it up for our Q&A. And I'm just going to show you a few successes. So this was a beautiful home, more of a luxury home that we used RealVitalize on. And this home just needed a cosmetic refresh. This is a lot of what we do through the program. Some quick fixes, a few different things around the home that really make it shine, but things that are quick, so it can allow you to take advantage of the market, get it listed in a quick time frame. Now, this listing agent actually won the listing with RealVitalize. Love to see that. The sellers had all of their cash tied up in their move. They were moving out of state. And so the agent pitched the program and was able to win the listing with the help of RealVitalize. So again, just a few quick fixes. All we did here was some fresh paint. We did some small handyman repairs around the home, and we staged before there of the kitchen and after. You'll see a few more before and afters here, dining space and after. So the other cool thing here, she of course got some great sales results, but this agent actually took the results of this listing, the before and afters, did some video content, did some marketing in this neighborhood, and I think she won 3 additional listings from the marketing she did of this property. And again, showing the transformation, showing what she could do with the help of RealVitalize, got her all that much more business through the program. So that was kind of cool to see as well. So some final results, they spent $9,000 in budget, sold in one day for 1.325. One more here. Another one that's kind of just some quick fixes, some things that will help get the home show ready. You'll see the home was a little bit messy before, and so we'll have some before and afters here. The only thing I would have recommended here was staging. They might not have had room in their budget, which is totally fine, but the home looks so nice, so clean, so move-in ready after the help of RealVitalize. This was a more unique sale project, so it was an estate sale, kind of a surprise, of course, with the passing of a relative. So the people that were selling this property didn't have those funds, used RealVitalize to help support the sale of this home. All right, a few more updates here, some pressure washing, some painting, some drywall repair, a few handyman tasks, carpentry work as well. So you can bring us a whole laundry list of items. If our budget fits and if we can source for it, we can help you with those items. So that's what's cool about the program. It can just be one quick thing like some cleaning and staging, or it can be a bit of a fixer-upper that needs some more work. Whatever the case, we can typically help you with that. Befores and afters again. One of the bedrooms, one of the bathrooms, just neutralizing, getting rid of all of those custom paint colors, custom finishes. And our agent here said the program was pivotal in helping sell this property. So great to hear. As is, this home would have been listed around $250,000. They spent about $12,000 in budget, listed at $310,000 and sold for $320,000 in just 2 days. All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you for tuning in. We have some next steps. So if you are interested in learning more, like I said, head to that RealVitalize tile on my CB desk. I will also be sending a follow-up email, so you'll have some emails in your inbox. But definitely, when in doubt, head to mycbdesk.com, find that RealVitalize tile, and all of the resources you need are there. We have enrollment steps, we have FAQs, we have pitch scripts if you want to prepare for a listing presentation. Lots of good resources here. And with that, here is our customer support info. So I highly recommend right now pulling out your phones, creating a contact in your phone, and putting our email and phone in your device, because you can pull up RealVitalize anytime and give us a call if you have questions. Of course, we work standard business hours, but you can always give us a call or shoot us an email if you have any questions. I will leave this up for a few minutes. And at this point, we can open it up for any questions. We have one in the chat from David Barnes. Let me get that addressed. Are there any restrictions on who can participate, i.e. estate settlements, multiple heirs, court-ordered sales, or is it on a case-by-case basis? So David, we've actually worked with most all of the situations you recommended. As long as we have a seller that can sign that agreement as the seller, as the person responsible for repayment. If it's the person that is signing the listing agreement, they can also sign up for RealVitalize. But yes, we've worked with estate settlements, we've worked with trust situations, all of those things we can definitely support you with. All right. Anyone at this point is welcome to come off mute if you have questions. I think we have some of our Angie partners here, Eric and Stephen as well. So if anyone has specific Angie related questions, maybe project questions, timeline questions, we can definitely help get those answered. Another question in the chat, happy to answer. If a property will require more than $20,000, will RealVitalize allow for additional service suppliers? So I'll answer the question of what happens if we're over budget. I think that's kind of what you're asking, Deborah. So if you are over budget, if you've hit that 20K max, you've maxed out your commission and gotten to that $20,000 max, it's a bit of a call from the seller. At that point, if you're over budget and additional budget is needed, or maybe additional work is desired by the seller, at that point, they would essentially be asked to pay for any overages. So your seller is welcome at any point to contribute additional funds to the budget if they have it. If they have a few thousand set aside or more than that, and they want to bring it in and get additional work done with that budget, they're more than welcome to do that. That is really what we will see when you hit that max budget, is the seller typically contributing some additional funds to get the work done. Now, the other option, if you're hitting that max, if the estimates are coming in and you're kind of maxed out there, you can always go back to your project consultant and see what we can cut out from the estimate or what we might be able to negotiate down to stay within budget. So those are kind of the two options. Now, if you haven't hit the $20,000 max, I mentioned budgets are determined by commission. So you can work your commission up a little bit to get some additional budget for your sellers. So it's either increasing commission, sellers paying for overages, or negotiating those estimates down to try to stick within the original budget.
What if you have a client that has a budget already and has the cash? Is this something that you can actually use through you to
Of course.
help negotiate and whatnot?
Yeah, of course. So great question, Michelle. We have a lot of sellers that will go through the program that have the money and they just don't want to front it. So we're not checking to make sure they don't have the capital. If they have money in capital and savings, a lot of those sellers just don't want to have to get rid of that money right away. And so they like the benefit of the program for that reason. A lot of the luxury properties we do, $1 million plus, that's kind of the situation we see with those. So they have the funds, they just like the idea of not parting with those funds at the beginning. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. Again, we have our folks from Angie here. Thanks for joining, Stephen and Eric. Any questions? Any questions? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Stephen, any pro tips you want to share on getting started with the program?
Yeah, I can share. So I'm Stephen. I'm the Associate Director on the Angie side. I really work with Eric and a lot of our vendors to make sure that all the agents are supported in this program. Any pro tips? From our side, I would recommend enrolling as soon as you have a new listing. That way, if anything comes up along the way, say there was an inspection or something that happens, you don't have to start the paperwork then or start onboarding the vendor then. You're already enrolled, you're already covered, and we can get to the work a lot faster. That would be my pro tip.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that. Another tip I would say, whatever needs, whatever preferences you have in terms of communication, anything you are aware of right at the beginning, bring that to your project consultant. So if you prefer texts over phone calls, or if you have a timeline you're trying to stick to, or if your seller has specific needs in terms of scheduling or something like that, bring those things to your project consultant right at the beginning, because the more you can communicate to them up front, the more they can support you through those things. If there's things like that you don't mention, they're not going to know, they can't read minds. So definitely recommend bringing any of those preferences to your project consultant at the beginning, and that will just really set you up for success with that relationship, with that working relationship. Another thing I'll mention that we get questions on is kind of who is the point of contact? Who's the point person here on your side? When you enroll a listing, you will actually specify if you as the agent or your seller wants to be the main point of contact. We do need a point of contact through the experience because, as mentioned, your project consultant is virtual. So we need someone that can let vendors into the property to do walkthroughs. We need someone that can kind of be the boots on the ground in a sense. So work that out with your seller. If your seller is comfortable with that, great. If you prefer to be the main point of contact for your project consultant, that is fine too. I would say most of the time we see the agent choosing themselves as that position, but definitely depends. But know when you enroll the listing through our enrollment form, there is a specific spot where you will note you or the seller as the main point of contact. Any other questions?
Melissa, can I ask
I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
I was going to ask another question in reference to overages over the 20,000.
Yes.
If so, in one case, you can up the commission for the additional amount. But it seems like in upping the commission, am I getting this wrong or not? But that costs the person additional money at closing in addition to what they're doing. Is there anything within the program that says that if that commission is upped to cover that? I'm assuming that's to protect the amount of money that's being fronted on behalf of the seller. But when it gets to close, if the money's there to pay it off from the sale of the proceeds, et cetera, is there anything that would prevent us from not getting the excess commission at that point?
Great question. So we can't really moderate that. And I will say, just for full transparency, we do occasionally see agents increase their commission to get more budget and then lower that later. It's really we like to see that not happen because we want you to get that top commission. So as you know, as agents, for you all, if you're increasing commission to get your seller more budget, we want to see you get that commission at the end of the day, that higher commission. But we can't moderate the end commission. We can't really keep tabs on that or put requirements there. So David, it's really just kind of a thing of faith. Like if the agent is bringing us a higher commission, we're offering more budget, and we're hoping, one, that there's equity in the home to repay both of those higher commissions. But two, we're hoping that, you know, the agent doesn't negotiate that back down just to ease the burden a little bit.
Okay.
But again, we can't really moderate that on our end. So one note I will say there, if your seller wants more budget, if you're negotiating higher commission, just make sure there's equity in the home to pay both that higher budget back as well as that higher commission back to you.
Sure. Okay.
We see some people go a little willy-nilly there and, you know, ask for a significantly higher commission, which is great, but we just really want to make sure that the repayment can happen at the end of the day. Awesome. Any other questions?
I had a quick question
Yes.
on the inspection repairs. So I know you said, Stephen said, don't wait till the last minute to sign your customer up or whatever. So say you've already done that. They've had repairs done in the beginning, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But when it comes time to the inspection repairs, what's your turnaround time on that? I think you mentioned that on our manager's call, but I wanted to make the agents aware because we have a really quick turnaround time. So is this really something they can utilize for that?
Stephen, can I toss that one to you?
Yep, I can take that one. So yeah, like I said, this is great for inspection repairs. It's really a great program for every listing. In terms of inspection repairs, when we get that, ideally you've already enrolled, you're already through the approval process. So you can automatically just reach out to, in this case, Eric. Eric will be able to source the vendor pretty quickly. And then the rule of thumb that we typically do is about $1,000 of work per day. So depending on what that inspection found in terms of what work is required, that's the time frame we can provide there. There will be some sourcing time. We usually say about 3 to 5 days for that. But if it's a quick thing, like say some painting or some staging, it can usually go a little bit quicker than that. But the general rule of thumb is about $1,000 per day in terms of getting the work done.
But to get the estimate for any inspection repairs, how fast does that happen?
Yep. So this is something that Eric will be able to help you with based on the service that is needed. So I'd probably give an estimate of 3 to 5 days to get multiple quotes in hand.
Okay.
And I would say with that too, like definitely communicate to Eric if you're in that time frame and you're in a bit of a quick turnaround. There's only so much we can try to expedite, but if you do need a really quick turnaround and you're in that inspection period, just communicate that to Eric. He'll do the best he can to speed things up a little bit. As mentioned, only so much we can speed up, but definitely gives him the context to know that there's a quick turnaround needed there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to put some links in the chat for our tile on desk. I'm going to put the link to onboard a preferred vendor if you're interested. And then I am putting our contact information as well. Robin, I'm going to specifically send you a follow-up if you wouldn't mind emailing that out to all of your agents. That would be wonderful. Absolutely. I will include the meeting recording for anyone that wants to watch it back. And again, you have our contact information, so feel free to just give us a call anytime you have questions, and we would love to work with you.
Thank you guys so much.
Of course. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robin.
Thank
you, David. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.